Unit 1 Study Skills. Listening, taking notes in lectures. In this talk, I'm going to give you some advice on the things that you need to do in order to take effective notes in a lecture. In the talk, I'll first touch upon the factors that make lecture note taking a challenging task. I will then go on and talk about what preparations you need to make before the lecture. Next, I will dwell on what you need to focus on during taking notes. Finally, I will draw your attention to how you can make the best use of your notes after the lecture. Taking lecture notes can be quite difficult and frustrating. The spoken language is transient, and unlike reading, you do not control the speed at which it is spoken. Moreover, it is usually not possible to ask the lecturer to go back, repeat a point, or stop for a while. Each lecture will have his or her own style, speed, and method. Some lecturers will present well-organized material, whilst others may ramble or present anecdotes, leaving you to determine their significance. It is important to determine a lecturer's style and how they convey ideas, and to adapt your note-taking to suit the style. You may be able to persuade a lecturer to slow down or repeat things, but you have to find a way to take notes that satisfies you and the style of the lecturer. Before the lecture, try to prepare yourself in advance for the lecture. If you know the topic of the lecture before the lecture is given, try to read on the subject before attending the lecture. This will aid your understanding, and it will be easier to make notes during the lecture, as you will be able to focus on the most relevant information. Review your notes from any previous lectures to help you put the upcoming lecture topic in context. During the lecture, sit as near to the front of the room as possible, where there are fewer distractions. This will help you to concentrate, and it will also be easier to see and hear. Look at the speaker. This will help you focus your attention, and their mannerisms may provide clues to what is to follow, or the importance of what is being said. However, do not let the personality or mannerisms of the lecturer put you off. Some lecturers may provide handouts at the beginning or summarize at the end of the lecture. This will help you to organize your own notes. What to write down. There is no right answer as to what to include in lecture notes. It depends on your purpose and ability to select and summarize. Some people write lengthy notes during lectures, whilst others will take brief notes covering the important points. Listening carefully to the introduction to the lecture, as this may give an indication of the structure, and thus help you to organize your notes. Essential information. Make a note of the module or subject name, topic, lecture, and date. This helps you if you lend your notes to a friend, and your friend returns them a month later, or if your file unexpectedly opens and all your papers fall out. Sorting them out afterwards can be almost impossible unless you know the topic and date. Identify themes. Listen carefully. You should be able to work out what the important themes of the lecture are. Often lecturers will outline the important points on an overhead projector slide and then provide examples to aid understanding. Record the key words and concepts. Jot down details or examples that support the main ideas, rather than writing verbatim what the lecturer is saying. Look for clues from the lecturer. Look and listen for clues. Look for cues from the lecturer. Look and listen for cues from the lecturer about what is important and most relevant. This may be picked up from the tone, voice, inflection, or gestures used by the lecturer. Frequently, lecturers will repeat the main points for emphasis. The lecturer may also use diagrams to illustrate important points or indicate specific texts or references. Be selective. You should not try to write down every word that the lecturer says. You will not be able to write at speaking speed. And if you are trying to record everything, the likely result will be incomprehensible notes. Spend time listening and attempt to record the main points and illustrations. If you are writing as fast as you cannot be discriminating listener. You cannot be a discriminating listener. After the lecture. As soon as possible, after the lecture, review your notes while they are still fresh in your mind, rewriting them where necessary. After the lecture. As soon as possible after the lecture, review your notes while they are still fresh in your mind, rewriting them where necessary. This will refresh your memory and enable you to identify any gaps from examples. This will refresh your memory and enable you to identify any gaps from examples and facts that you did not have to write. This will refresh your memory and enable you to identify any gaps for examples. This will refresh your memory and enable you to identify any gaps from examples and facts that you did not have time to write down during the lecture. Try to follow up anything that is unclear whilst your memory is still fairly fresh. Reading the recommended texts and references will help you to fill any gaps in your notes.